In this video, I'll be going over how to add decimals. The 3 steps for adding a decimal. Decimals need to line up. Second step, 0 as a placeholder. Third, and the last step is to add. Here is an example. 55.21 plus 12.5. So we'll write this out as we will write it out like this: 55.21 and 12.5. To figure out where to place 12.5, we need to see where the decimal point is, and this is where decimals line up. In this case, the decimal point is right here. So before we write 12.5, we need to make sure that the decimal of 12.5 is also in the same position. So we'll write 12.5. Okay, now that we've lined up the decimals, our second step will be to place 0 as a placeholder. So in this case, this spot here is empty, so we need to place the 0 here. And finally, we can complete the addition process. Okay, so 1 plus 0 is 1, 2 plus 5 is 7, decimal point drops down, 5 plus 2 is 7, 5 plus 1 is 6, and our answer is 67.71. The most important part about this is this decimal point. We need to make sure the decimals are placed in the proper positions. Here is another example. 45.782 plus 121.22. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and rewrite this and make sure the decimals line up. So we have 45.782. Then the second number, we want to make sure that the decimal point is here, and since it's 121, so it will be 121, and then we'll place the 22 after. And now we're gonna place 0 as placeholder here. And finally, we could add. So it will be 2 plus 0 is 2. 8 plus 2 is 10. So there's a plus 1 here. So 7 plus 2 plus 1 is 10 again. So another plus 1 on top. And 5 plus 1 is 6. Plus the 1 is 7. And make sure the decimal point is here. 4 plus 2 is 6. And we bring down the 1. And our answer is 167.002. What about this one? 7.7 plus 253.25. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and line up the decimals. 7.7. In this question, we gotta be really careful because the decimal point needs to be here, and the number is a lot bigger, which is 253. So we gotta write 2, 5, 3, like so, and then 2, 5 after. Okay. So now we're gonna place the 0 as a placeholder here. Then we're going to add them together. 0 plus 5 is 5. 7 plus 2 is 9. Decimal point here. 7 plus 3 is 10. 5 plus 1 is 6. And bring down the 6. And our final answer is 260.95. Here is another question. 0.62 plus 54.1. Again, we're gonna line the decimal up. In this case, 0.62. And the second number, decimal point lining up here. We write 54 like so, and then we put the 1 behind the decimal point. Then we'll see that there's a placeholder. We need to put 0 here. Then we'll complete the addition process, taking 2 plus 0 equals 2. 6 plus 1 is 7. Bring the decimal point down here. 0 plus 4 is 4. Bring down to 5. And here we have it. The answer is 54.72. In this video, I'll be going over how to subtract decimals. The 3 steps to subtracting decimal include lining up the decimal, place 0 as a placeholder, then complete the subtraction process. Here is an example. 55.21 minus 12.5. So we'll write it like this, 55.21. The first step is to line up the decimal points. So we'll place the decimal point here. Then we're gonna have to place the right numbers in here. So in this case, we have 12.5. So we'll put 12 and then 5 here. Now the next step is to place 0 as a placeholder. And since we don't have anything here, so we'll place a 0 here as a placeholder. And finally, we'll complete the subtraction process. So we'll take 1 minus 0 equals 1. 2 minus 5, need to borrow 1 from the 5. So that'll be 12 minus 5 equals 7. Now this becomes 4. So 4 minus 2 is 2. Now the decimal point needs to be here. And 5 minus 1 is 4. And our final answer is 42.71. Here's another question. 121.22 minus 45.782. So we will rewrite it like this. 121.22. Then we need to line up the decimal. So decimal point here. Then we put 45 here. 782 here. Now there's an empty spot here. And we need to place a 0 as a placeholder. And now we can complete the subtraction process. So 0, need to borrow 1 here. This becomes 1. And that's 10 minus 2 equals 8. And now we have 1 minus 8, which we need to borrow another 1. And that becomes 11 minus 8, which is 3. And then the 1 needs to borrow 1 again. And that will become 11 minus 7 equals 4. Now we bring down the decimal point. and then we need to borrow 1 again here. Then we have 10 minus 5 equals 5. Then we need to borrow 1 here. And that would be 11 minus 4, which is 7. And our final answer is 75.438. Here is another one. 253.25 minus 7.7. 7.7. Okay, so we'll rewrite this as 253.25. And then lining up the decimal point, 7.7 minus, and then place a 0 as a placeholder here, then subtract. So 5 minus 0 is 5, 2 minus 7 needs to borrow 1 equals 5. Bring the decimal point down. 2 minus 7 needs to borrow. 12 minus 7 is 5. Bring the 4 down, bring the 2 down, and our answer is 245.55. And here's the next one. 54.1 minus 0.62. Okay, and we'll rewrite it as 54.1 lining up the decimal point, 0.62. Complete the subtraction. Place 0 as a placeholder here, then complete the subtraction. 0, borrow 1, 10 minus 2 is 8, borrow 1, 10 minus 6 is 4, bring the decimal point down, 3 minus 0 is 3, and bring down the 5, and our answer is 53.48. In this video, I'll be covering multiplying decimals. By now, you should already know how to multiply numbers, whether it's double digit, triple digits, so we'll have a quick review on this. An example would be 10 times 12. So what we would do is 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 1 is 1. And we simply bring them down like this. So the answer we have is 120. Now if we have 20 times by 5, again we'll go 5 times 0, 5 times 2, and the answer is 100. Now that we've gone over how to multiply numbers, we're gonna go into multiplying decimals. So here is an example. 5.7 times 5 equal. Here we're gonna go ahead and times 5 to the 7 just like before, so we're going up. 5 times 7 is 35, so we bring the 3 up. Then we have 5 times 5 is 25 plus equals 28. When we look at this, we'll see that there's one decimal point that we need to take account for. So from the answer, we also need to do the same. Bring that decimal here. So your final answer will become 28.5. Now the tricky part is the decimal point, so we need to make sure that the decimal point is done at the final step. in order to get the answer correct. Now let's try another one. 4.5 times 6. Again, we take 6 times 5, 30, bring it up. 6 times 4, 24 plus 3 is 27. And then we have the 1 decimal point, which we need to do the same here. And we have 27.0 as the answer. Now let's try another question with two numbers that are both decimal times together. Here's an example. 5.5 times 7.8. So again, we're gonna take 8 times 5 equals 40. Okay, and then 8 times 5 is 40. So plus the 4 equals 44. 7 times 5, 35. Put the 3 on top. And then 7 times 5 is 35. And then we add the 3, becomes 38. So we bring the numbers down 0. 4 plus 5 is 9. 4 plus 8 is 12. 3 plus 1 is 4. Now at the final step is where we put the decimal point. Now in this example, there's a total of 2 decimal points. So there's 1 here and 1 here. So at the final answer, we know that we need to add 2 decimal points. So we need to go 2 spaces to the left, 1, 2, and the decimal point will end up here. So the final answer of this will be 42.9. Now let's try another question with 2 numbers, both with decimal points. 8.2 times 9.5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 8 is 40, plus 1, 41. 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 8 is 72, plus 1, 73. Okay, we're bringing all this down. Again, we know there's a total of 2 decimal points that we need to take account for. So we move 2 spaces to the left, decimal point ending here. Answer 77.9. Now let's try a different questions, but we'll have one number that's to the 10th power and one number to the 100th. So the example would be 6.25 times 5.2. Okay, we're gonna take 2 times 5 is 10. 2 2 is 4 is 5. 2 times 6 is 12. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 2 is 10, so 12. 5 times 6 is 30, so 31. Bring it all down. And in here, we can see there's a total of 3 spaces that we need to take account for. And so we'll do it here, 1, 2, 3. So decimal point ended there. And the answer is 32.5. Now here is another example with 2 numbers, both at 100th decimal point. 10 times 2, 5 times 5 times 5, 2. So we'll take 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1. 2 times 0, 0. 2 times 1 is 2. 5 times 5, 25. 5 times 2 is 10 plus a 2 is 12. 5 times 0 is 0. 1. 5 times 1 is 5. Now we'll go 5. 5, 5, 25. 5, 2 is 10. Plus 2 is 12. 5 times 0 is 0. Plus the 1. 5 times 1 is 5. bring it all down. Now here we see there's total of 4 spaces, decimals. Now there are a total of 4 decimal spaces which we need to take account for. So we'll start 1, 2, 3, 4, ending the decimal point here. So our answer will be 56.58. In this video, I'll be talking about dividing a decimal by a decimal. The first thing you want to look for is the divisor of the question, whether it's a decimal point or a whole number. In these examples, our divisors are all gonna be decimals. So here is the first example. 8.6 divided by 0.5. So the first thing to look at is the 0.5. We see that this is not a whole number. So when we write out the division, it's 8.6 divided by 0.5. When we have a divisor that's a decimal point, we need to make it into a whole number first. So we see that this decimal point need to move 1 spaces over. And when we move 1 decimal point from the divisor, we need to do the same here as well. So now let's rewrite the question. It will now become 86 divided by 5. Now we can solve this question by dividing, and it'll be 1, that's 5, 36. 5 times 7 equals 35. Bring the 1 down, and the 86, we can add a 0 and bring it down here. And 5 times 2 is 10. So our answer to this question is 17.2. What about this one? 64.8 divided by 0.24. Now let's do the same way where we look at the divisor of 0.24. So we take 64.8 divided by 0.24. Now the divisor need to move 2 spaces over, and we need to do the same inside. When there's an extra space with no number, then we need to fill in a 0 because the decimal point is now here. So if we rewrite this question, it will become 6,480 divided by 24. Now we can solve this question with division. So this will be 2, 48, 16, bring down the 8, 7, 68, 0, and we bring down the 0, and the 0 here. So our final answer here is 270. Now let's try one where the divisor is to the 1000th decimal point. 24.6 divided by 0.048. So we will rewrite the question like this: 24.6 divided by 0.048. Now feel free to pause the video if you wanted to find out the answer first before the final answer is revealed. So here the divisor need to move 3 spaces and need to do the same here. 1, 2, 3, and the decimal point will end right here. Then we'll fill in the 2 zeros. Okay, and now if we rewrite this, 24,600 divided by 48. Now we can solve this question. That's 5, 240, 6, bring the 0 down, 1, 48, 12, bring the 0 down, 2, 6, 24. Now we can add more 0 in the back of it here and bring it down, and now this becomes 240 and 5. So the answer is 512.5. Now let's try one where the divisor is to the 10,000th point. So in this example, 6.4 divided by 2.1243. Now we want to round this to the 100th position. Okay, 6.4, 2.1243. So here we'll see that need to move 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, and 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Decimal point ends here, and we'll fill in the zeros and rewrite this as 64,000, 21,243. Now this is also a big number, so I'm going to use a calculator in this case, or else it will take a long time. So we'll put 3, 63,729, 271, 0, bring the 0 down, and decimal point here. Now this will be 0, and then we need to bring another 0 down. This will be 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 5, 7. Another 0, bring it down. 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, 1, 6, 0, 8, 4. Now since we are rounding to the 100th position, we're looking at here. And since 2 is less than 5, so our final answer will be 3.01. And that's the final answer.